Hello and welcome to Late Night Grace. What do I want to talk about with you today? Well, it's about the Ephesian church and you. That was me introducing last week's episode. And what I went on to say was we're going to look at the history of the Ephesians church. However, as we move on, we're going to get into deep theological discourse. Join me now on the journey of part 2 of the history of the Ephesians church as we look at what happened after the original elders, pastors, apostles had gone and how the church developed. So shall we go there? If you follow the letter to the Ephesians all the way through and look at its history, you actually get to see the development of a church as a church. But not only as a church, but as a centre, as a historical, as a relevant point in history. Because from that church, theological issues were concluded, biblical sources were verified, and ideas regarding the future of the church moved forward. And that's very important, especially today. You see that it's about the building up of a fellowship, starting off with the fundamentals, Jesus as King, our righteousness under Christ, building us up, how we should take our inheritance which was given to us on the cross. Then moving into the spiritual arena. But before it moves into the spiritual arena, talking about how we should be at work, how we should be with our families, how individuals should relate to each other. And then it looks at the spiritual things. That's Ephesians 1 to 6. We end with looking at the armour of God. Because when you've got the rest, when you've got the basics down pat, you can get the spiritual stuff down pat. But it takes time and it takes maturity. And in the same way, it was for the Ephesians church. A church that started strong, then got caught up in some theological controversy, and then carried on. So I wanted today give you a brief history of the church at Ephesus, going through to the early church fathers, going through history, and following it all the way through. So come with me on that journey. Come with me to get a grasp of the Ephesians church, because we're doing a study online at the moment and it's getting a great following. People are really enjoying it, and I've had some comments back. People are really getting encouraged by it. We've now hit Ephesians 2. Get on board. It's Foundations in Truth, and it's one right through. Just follow it through. It's all been saved. And you can watch each one, or you can start with 2 tomorrow and go back later on and follow us through. But let me give you the groundwork. Let me tell you what it was like. So the ancient city of Ephesus, we started now. The ancient city of Ephesus was a place where there was many traditions, many whispers, many sorts of religions, all vying for attention, all vying to be part together. And that's what makes the Ephesus church so remarkable. Beyond the New Testament, the church of Ephesus continues. It carries on. It's in the book of Revelation. Ephesus appears as one of the 7 churches. It carries on. It continues beyond the scriptures. Some of the early church fathers wrote to the Ephesus church or were involved in the Ephesus church. Ephesians. Ignatius of Antioch, in his letter to the Ephesians, about 110 AD, praises their faithfulness, as Paul had done, while Polycrates, or whatever, of Ephesus, defends the church's traditions in the Quartodeciman. Quartodeciman, I'll explain that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the council, shall we? The council was convened in 431 AD in Ephesus by Emperor Theodosius II, and it was to resolve certain disputes that had been going on. The key figures at the council were Cyril of Alexandria, who defended the Theotokos position, and Nestorius, who opposed it. Now, the Theotokos position was this, that Jesus was both God and man. The Nestorians held that he had 2 persons within himself. There was the Godhead, the divine, and there was the human being, and they were separated from each other. Cyril of Alexandria stated, however, that He was human and God at the same time. There was no distinction. The man who was Jesus was also the second member of the Trinity, the Son. And that was where that was defined. And of course that won. The outcomes: the council upheld the unity of Christ's person. But not only that, we have the Mother of God. Now, what about the Mother of God? Well, many were claiming that God had no mother, that the divine could not have a mother. But if Jesus, the human being, was also God, then Mary was the Mother of God. She was carrying God in her womb. So that was important and had a key role to play. So that was also agreed upon. And then, remember I said I'd talk about the quartodeciman. It was from the Latin meaning 14th. And it was regarding Easter. What day to celebrate Easter? And it was decided that Easter, the term quartodeciman, from the Latin meaning 14th, refers to early Christian communities, particularly in Asia Minor, including the church at Ephesus, who celebrated Easter on the 14th day of the Jewish month of Nisan, regardless of the day of the week. This practice was based on the tradition of commemorating Christ's crucifixion on the same date as the Jewish Passover. The controversy emerged in the 2nd century when churches in other regions, particularly Rome and Alexandria, began celebrating Easter on the Sunday, following the 14th Nisan, emphasising the resurrection rather than the crucifixion date. Makes sense, doesn't it? Key points about the quartodeciman controversy. The practice was defended by Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna, and other Asian bishops. So before this council met, it was put into practice. It was opposed by Victor I, Bishop of Rome, who threatened excommunication to the quartodeciman churches for those who didn't celebrate it as resurrection on the nearest Sunday afterwards, after Nisan, but rather celebrated it as on the feast of Nisan itself. Excommunication. The dispute was eventually resolved in favour of the Sunday celebration as the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD. The celebration of Easter we have now follows the idea of the first Sunday, which also celebrates the resurrection of Jesus from the dead. And as Christians, that makes a lot more sense. So there we have it. So next time we'll look at a little strange myth about the 7 sleepers, the Church of St. Mary's, and we'll delve into those scriptures that support the council's decisions, and we shall see all they were doing was ratifying what was already in scripture. We'll do that next time on the history of the Ephesian church. So folks, I'm being sponsored. My program's been sponsored by a company called Box Brand. Let me tell you about them. This is exciting stuff. I'm excited, and at the end of this little message I think you will be too. It's called Box Brand and it's in Elgin. A lovely wee place that make mugs and hoodies and t-shirts and all sorts of wonderful things. That's Box Brand in Elgin, and this is their address online. And when you buy off them, give them this voucher number and get 10% off. 10% off. Just say it's from us. There's the brand number. So that's LKG10 for 10% off from Box Brand in Elgin. For all these wonderful gifts that you see here, you can get that just after. But it's there for you. And these have sponsored today's programme. So God bless them for that. Thank you very much for supporting me today in this programme. Box Brand, the brand for you, brand for me, brand for all of us who just want simple gifts with simple solutions to nice Christmas and birthday and whatever ideas. So I just want to remind people out there, I'm now pastoring a church. If you want to know more about that, wherever you are, you can find out how that's done. Get in touch at GracewatchUK@gmail.com. That's GracewatchUK@gmail.com. The email is in the information for this video. Before I go, please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Give a thumbs up and all that stuff, and let your friends know about this channel. So that's it now, folks. That's me done. That's me dusted. God bless you, and I'll see you on the flip side.